Hi class. I wanted to show you a visual that gives you a representation of objects and object-oriented programming. And this visual is in Unity. So Unity makes it easy to develop things where we can see what's going on. So let's take a look. Here's my little application, and it's an emitter, and it emits spheres. It emits spheres of random colors. Now I want you to think about each of these spheres as an individual sphere object, because that's what each of them is, right? Each of them has, you can tell, a randomly assigned color, and they have other attributes that we could probably update or manipulate as we programmatically worked with our spheres. So let's think about this from a notes perspective. Oh, it's going to stop. Is it going to stop? I was hoping it would kind of keep going. Let's see if I can get it to keep going. It won't. You didn't think about it. Limitations of modern technology. So I have my OneNote notes here, and I'd already scribbled a few things about objects and classes, but I'm going to start down here where my cursor just happens to be and put in that an object is a noun. So that would be a person, place, or thing. Didn't know it was going to be English class today, did ya? So yeah, our English class, because we want to remember that when we're object-oriented programming, we are working with things that logically belong together. And nouns are things that bring things together. Now, when we look at each of these spheres, we call those an object. When we create a new object, that's called an instance. That's called instantiating. I can spell it right. So whenever a new sphere appears on the screen, a new sphere has been instantiated by the program and it's been started up. Now, whenever we are working with object-oriented programming, we see that each of these objects has attributes. Now, attributes can also be thought of as properties, and these are just the things that describe our object. So, for example, we're talking about the color. Let's say we could be talking about the weight of each of these spheres, how much of an impact gravity has on them. We could talk about how fast they're moving, right, their speed. We could change all of those different attributes about each of these spheres. So in effect, these attributes are kind of adjectives, right? They're describers. And each instance of our class can have different settings. So in our example, we can have a sphere that has a color of purple. We can have a sphere that has a color of blue. We can have a sphere that has a color of red. Each of those has a color attribute. The attribute is just set to a different value. So object-oriented programming makes working with these objects really simple once we get things all set up, because we can just work with the different attributes. Now, when I'm working with object-oriented programming, besides the objects and the attributes that I have going on with them, I have actions, right? So we can call those behaviors. Now, when I'm talking about these behaviors, these would be verbs, right? So things like emit. Maybe I could have my spheres explode. That would be cool if they ran into each other. I could even, have some sort of behavior method that checks to see if there's been a collision between my spheres so that I could decide if they needed to explode. So all of these different things would be behaviors or actions associated with these objects. In our textbook and in different areas where you see really formal terminology, that will be called an instance behavior or an instance method. So many different terms we can use for so many different things that sometimes we can get a little bit overwhelmed by all the alternatives. Now, when we're looking at our objects, remember these are the things that we're concerned about. Our object is a noun. It's describing a person, place, or thing. It has attributes or adjectives that further describe it, like its color or its weight or its speed or its age. And then the object can have behaviors or actions associated with it. These are our verbs, and we would implement these in our program using a method. So for example, with our spheres, we could emit them or explode them or have collisions. So I hope that this visual kind of helps you think about object-oriented programming in a light where you can kind of see it in your mind. And the more you can think about it and use it, the more productive you'll be as you're programming and developing applications. Thank you.